successful way as a blueprint out.
It's like drama, and you gotta deal with this person, and then funky relationship here, and all these things. You try and just kind of balance them out as best I can.
Make a choice. Like, you just decide what it's going to be, who you're going to be, how you're going to do it. Just decide. And then from that point, the universe is going to get out your way.
Everybody wants to be a beast until it's time to do what real beasts do.
Unleash your beast. Write your history.
Good morning and welcome to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela and we exchange conversation, great conversation every Thursday from 11 to 1. And today's show is entitled Sculpting the Body and Taming the Mind. Self-discipline. What does that word mean to all of you? Self-discipline is one of those things that so many of us desperately struggle with. It takes discipline to change our lives, to grow to new heights, to be the best version of ourselves possible. Life transformation is a physical, mental, and spiritual process, a process that today's guest knows all too well. While following a passion for pushing herself to the greatest capacity through competitive sports, including triathlons and marathons and all of those things that we think are really difficult to do, which are difficult to do, she's learned invaluable lessons about herself and life's possibilities. Today we'll discuss the limitless possibilities of the body, the mind, and the spirit. Today, I'm joined by a fierce competitor who will share the secrets of her own self-discipline and life transformation, Dr. Shaunna Payne Gold. Dr. Shaunna Payne Gold, let me enunciate, educator at the University of Maryland and founder of Shiro Athletics. And here, later in the show, we'll be joined by another young lady who we'll introduce later. We'll be discussing body transformation, exercise addiction, self-discipline, and how exercise impacts your sex life. Yes. As always, we've got some trending topics to discuss, research to dish, and of course, my weekly balance challenge. So stay tuned. We'll be right back on the Live Exchange.
Listen, as a hiring manager, I've got to tell you, the best job candidate isn't always the typical candidate. Sometimes they're a grad of life.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Sometimes the best candidates aren't the ones you're used to.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Major key alert. Don't ever play yourself. The key is to make it, so make it.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at GetSchooled.com. Brought to you by Get Schooled and the Ad Council.
Listen, as a hiring manager, I've got to tell you, the best job candidate isn't always the typical candidate. Sometimes they're a grad of life.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Sometimes the best candidates aren't the ones you're used to.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
People are always looking to invest in a good opportunity. So what if you could invest in the future of kids, like a stock? Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change called Better Futures. With your investment, it helps students like me go to college. My name is Charles, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. Brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Viola Davis. Did you know that 1 in 5 kids in America struggle with hunger? Growing up, I was one of those kids. But we can solve this. When we make breakfast happen for kids in our neighborhood, we have the power to end childhood hunger, create bigger, brighter school days, and healthier minds and bodies. Go to hungeris.org and lend your time or your voice.
We're hungry for more.
A message from the Albertsons Companies Foundation and the Entertainment Industry Foundation.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her.
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge.
Got to get this all straightened out. Keep a little talking to, man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve. It's now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend.
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Y'all need anything else?
Sensation Station Network.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and I must introduce our amazing guest, Dr. Shaunna Payne Gold. Let me tell you, I keep saying Gold. I don't know why I'm messing up your name. It's not like it's hard to say. let me quickly introduce you. Dr. Shaunna Payne Gold is multifaceted as a higher education administrator at the University of Maryland, a professorial lecturer at the George Washington State University, and as the founder and owner of Shiro Athletics, LLC. Shaunna shed 70-plus pounds 5 years ago between the births of her sons. As a result, she is now a 2-time Wagnerian, 3-time marathoner, triathlete, adult learn to swim certified instructor, a U.S. Masters swimming certified coach, and an Ironman 7.3 finisher, all in the last 5 years, y'all. Most recently, Shaunna was selected by the Women for Tri Foundation of Ironman as a regional ambassador. Women's Health magazine has also recognized Shaunna as a Women's Health Action Hero 2017, and Shaunna is a monthly contributor to Crush Fitness magazine. Shaunna merges her love of diversity and inclusion research and scholarship with athletics by constantly encouraging people of color to live healthy and learning to swim as a basic life skill. You can follow Shaunna's Facebook page at Shiro Athletics, LLC, and on Instagram at Shiro Athletics. Welcome, Dr. Shaunna. How are you doing?
Good morning. I am less than 2 weeks out from my 70.3, so I'm still recovering, but in a great mood. It's great weather here in Maryland, so I'm recovering slowly but surely.
I love it. Okay, so everybody's not going to know what's meant by 70.3. I got to know because I got to witness the pictures and part of that journey. Can you tell everybody what was that and what did it entail?
Sure. Well, Ironman has various distances that you can compete in, whether it's a full Ironman of 140.6 miles, which I will wait on at this point, but I am considered a half Ironman, which means that I covered 70.3 miles of distance back-to-back. So that breakdown is 1.2 miles swimming, 56 miles cycling, and then a half marathon run at the end of 13.1 miles.
My goodness. At the end. Wow.
Yeah, at the end.
Wow. That is just amazing. And I, obviously we're going to need to know the whole story. So we'll get it all together by the end of the show. But right. Is this the sort of the highest level of competition you've done thus far, or is it just kind of consistent? Has this been kind of the norm?
Yeah, well, what fascinates me about just working with the Ironman company in general is that, you have those elite athletes that are, breaking their necks. They're at the ridiculous speeds that seem kind of superhuman. Right. But, when I look even at the last finishers of all of these races, who do you know that can do any type of cardio activity for more than 8 hours straight? There are not too many people that can do that.
Right.
And so, I really feel like all of these folks are at a different level, and I wouldn't necessarily say physically at a different level either. I think, yes, physically to a point, but mentally, these are people that are just stubborn. They're stubborn in a good way. They don't give up on anything. We even joke within a lot of my circles that we talk about how Ironman triathlon should really be like on your resume, on your CV. Because some of the attributes that come along with the competition, there are things that people would want to have. You know, they would want to have someone that knows how to see something through to the end. They would want to have someone that knows how to pivot around challenges and still overcome major obstacles. They would still want all of these different skill sets. And so I think it's more mental than physical, although physical is a huge part of it.
Absolutely. And it sounds like there are so many other things, you know, life applications. And that's one of the reasons why I intentionally broadened the topic from just, you know, exercise and athletic competition to life transformation, because it seems that this is, you know, one and the same, that's life transformation inevitably happens. Or does life transformation cause one to be able to compete at this level?
Yeah, I think it's a both and, because I think there is a mindset where you have to make up your mind that you are going to change yourself. You know, whatever that self is at the moment, you have to make a decisive change in your life, and then it progressively goes from there.
Right.
So, you know, when I made a decisive change to say, look, I'm tired of being heavy, I'm tired of clothes being too tight, I'm tired of, you know, not being able to carry laundry up a set of stairs without being out of breath. Once I decided that, then everything else kind of followed. So I didn't wake up 5 years ago and say, oh, let's do an Ironman this weekend. But it was more so, you know, it was more so a thought of, you know, how do I make incremental changes that will lead wherever it goes? I didn't know at that time that it was going to lead to an Ironman. All I wanted to do, my big goal was to do a 5K run. I just wanted to do 3.1 miles, continuous without stopping, and that was my big goal at the time.
Wow.
And, you know, I made that decision. That was my first decision. And so after I completed the 5K, it just went on and on and on from there.
Wow.
So I'm still in the process of trying to figure out where this is going exactly.
Where's it going?
But,
wow. Well,
yeah.
And I think it's great, because somebody like me will not have the small goal. I'll be watching the Olympics and think, wow, why can't I do that? You know, and so start small.
Exactly.
All right. So we're going to get
skip from A to Z.
Yes, that's my big problem. So, all right, we're going to get into some trending topics.
Primary election. Lack of diversity. Gas prices.
Michael Jackson. Trending topics.
All right, so trending this week, big news. Our president has demanded that NFL owners fire players who peacefully protested during the playing of the national anthem at a rally in Huntsville, Alabama. So that happened over the weekend, which it seems like that happened forever ago, because it's been point of conversation all week. And there has been, and basically, and I didn't even say it all, he even went as far as calling those who have protested SOBs. If you don't know what that is, Google it. And I love that Kaepernick's mom kind of jumped in and said, well, I guess I'm a proud bee, you know, because if you're going to call me names, I'm proud. So, and Sean, please feel free to jump in at any time, you know, with any of this. But the question on the table has been, should players in any league be subject to punishment if they protest during the national anthem? Well, if we want to speak legally, because the problem with all these conversations is nobody's looking at what is actually in our Constitution. It's emotion. Oh,
absolutely.
No, you're offending me. Okay, that's fine. What's in the Constitution, and are we following that? Right.
Yeah, well, and you know, what's interesting about it is that, you know, we've kind of thrown patriotism, you know, as a blanket over what's really going on here.
Right.
Because, you know, I really like the fact that, well, let me preface this by saying that I'm not a very symbolic person. Let me put that out there. Okay. So, you know, if I'm not going to purposefully disrespect a flag, however, you know, if I'm standing at the beginning of a race where they always play the national anthem, someone might have to remind me to turn around and face the flag because, oh, the national anthem is on. Okay, no disrespect. It's just not at the top of mind.
Like Simone Biles in the Olympics. She didn't have her hand over her heart. It wasn't in protest. It was just, okay, go ahead.
Exactly. And so, you know, so let me preface it by saying that. However, the challenge becomes that a lot of peripheral conversations are being drug in as a connection to patriotism. So, for example, I get really challenged when our military are brought into this conversation saying that, oh, well, now you're disrespecting not only the flag, but our military, our entire country. Well, wait a minute. Let's be clear that most military will tell you that they fought for the right for everyone to protest or to support the flag when it waves. So that is your choice. And so I think the big challenge is that protest, if it doesn't agree with your value set, is a problem. When in fact protest can be in lots of different forms. And so I think we're missing the point. I always say efforts in missing the point. We're missing the point here because, are we going to talk about patriotism or are we going to talk about the reasons behind why Kaepernick got on one knee and also who advised him to do so? I just read a couple of articles about that as well. So that's extremely important to add to the dialogue.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that it's being added. We have to go to a break. And when we come back, we'll delve into some more stuff, and stuff can mean a lot of things. So just come back and you'll find out what that is. We'll be right back on the Live Exchange.
Okay, so 5 tacos of cheese and a large soda. That's $10,012. Please drive around.
Wait, 10,000 what?
It's obvious you're buzzed and driving.
I've only had a few. I'm fine.
Yeah, the food's $12, but getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Please drive around. Actually, just park and come in.
Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Y'all need anything else?
Sensation Station Network.
Hi, I'm Viola Davis. Did you know that 1 in 5 kids in America struggle with hunger? Growing up, I was one of those kids. But we can solve this. When we make breakfast happen for kids in our neighborhood, we have the power to end childhood hunger, create bigger, brighter school days, and healthier minds and bodies. Go to hungeris.org and lend your time or your voice.
We're hungry for more.
A message from the Albertsons Companies Foundation and the Entertainment Industry Foundation.
Great leaders aren't born. They're made, and not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans. When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer. I want to be a warm place on a cold day. Be a football stadium. I want to be a bike that races around the country. I want to be a bench on a forest trail. When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Marie Callender's knows that you may not have time to roll out dough for a perfectly flaky crust that's made from scratch. Or enough time to mix vegetables with all white meat chicken and a homemade gravy. She knows you may not have a moment to crimp the edges of your favorite chicken pot pie. But Marie Callender's does. And when she's done, all you need to do is find time to grab someone special, sit down, and savor. Marie Callender's, it's time to savor.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela. I've got a new addition in the studio. We have Mr. Nell Porche, and she is the mastermind artist, creative person behind SOAR.
Yes.
With 3 S's.
Yes.
Tell us what SOAR is.
Oh my gosh, I will somehow, in some way, with some effort, overcome all rifts. Rifts meaning that hurt, that pain, that anger, that grief, that wrath, so you can heal.
Oh.
You gotta get through.
She was doing a poem for
us. God. Somebody else said that. I was just like, no, that's the description.
That's the description. Got it. Somehow, some way, somewhere.
Yeah, somehow, some way, somewhere. That effort. That's some effort. Find that effort that you need to find your healing.
I love it.
Yes.
And it's so fitting because on the phone we have Dr. Shaunna Payne Goal, who has somehow, some way, somewhere figured out how to lose 70 plus pounds in five years and become all these things I just read. I don't even remember all of it, but Iron Man and marathoner and swimming instructor for just amazing.
Teach me, oh wise one, please, because I'm going through my physical transformation. I've just started, working on, and I'm just like, okay, what am I doing? So, yes, teach me, please.
Excellent.
Isn't that the first step, Shaunna? Just wanting to be taught, wanting to learn, wanting to get there.
Making up your mind that you are ready to begin the process. Absolutely.
So what happened in you? What made you make up your mind and say, okay, I'm going to do this?
Yeah, for me it was knowing that I had this little boy, I had this little person that I was responsible for. And I realized the majority of the people in my family were either already diabetic or pre-diabetic. And we received an insurance letter that said that unfortunately they wouldn't underwrite my husband's life insurance at that time. Wow. Now we're fine, but then that wasn't the case. And when I thought about it, I'm thinking to myself, I must be like the most irresponsible human being on the planet to bring a child into this world that may not have a parent if we both don't shape up. And literally and figuratively shape up. So, you know, for me, that was kind of the awakening moment. And so for me, that was that moment where I said, okay, I cannot be irresponsible by bringing someone in the world that I'm not going to be able to stick around for to take care of. Wow. And I think for me, you know, I think a lot of people have a similar awakening moment, or, you know, I don't want people to get to a place where they have to have that critical incident situation. But if that's what it takes for people to make that first decision, hey, listen to it, pay attention to it. My fear is that if folks do have that awakening moment, they don't pay attention to it and they continue down the same path. Wow. I would prefer for people to really pay attention to it, and then they can start making these incremental changes. So, you know, once again, Dr. Pamela, we're not going to the Olympics, but we're going to make a decision.
I don't know.
You know, that we're
going
to do. Let me get my tickets for the Summer Olympics, please.
I love but that's good. That's great. And you know, and I know that, you know, once you make the decision, because a lot of us make, I don't know, maybe we can't call it making a decision, but a lot of us say, you know what, we're going to do it. You know, it is New Year's Day.
Top of January.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to make a change.
Those Januarians. I call them Januarians.
I got myself a trainer. What was your method? What was the very first step? When did you dip your toe in the water, so to speak? Yeah. What was that first moment when you actually began?
Oh, it was ugly. It was so ugly. It was so ugly. Well, I had no excuse because I had a treadmill in my basement.
Okay.
And so even if I was too ashamed or too embarrassed to go outside of the house or any of that, I had a treadmill in my basement. And so I started there saying, okay, I'm going to get up, you know, maybe an hour earlier, and I'm going to get on my treadmill, and I'm just going to walk however long. However far I get in 30 minutes, that's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
And I started walking. And it was embarrassing because I would have lots of friends who were either runners or they were starting to run, and, you know, you would see all their cute selfies out there, you know, doing their thing. And I'm like, well, I want a cute selfie too. And, you know, for me, it was embarrassing because I did not feel comfortable enough to go out there and run or even walk with other people because I felt so self-conscious. And so I spent probably the first year and a half, 2 years just by myself on the treadmill.
Okay.
Before I got connected with anybody else outside of my home.
Okay. Wow.
I appreciate you sharing that you started. I don't want to say small because that's not the appropriate word to use, but to be able to start in a way to where it honors and supports you advancing and progressing forward. And so because I've actually gone back to actually think about my thoughts that I'm thinking about this training, because I've trained before. The producer knows that I was like twice a day and one day and stuff like that, but I was coming from a space of more hurt. Okay. So now I'm offering a space for myself where it's coming out from a loving space. So for me, the question I have for you, did you have to look at your thought pattern as far as you stepping out and making that choice, making that decision, the commitment to continue to honor yourself in your training? So that's my question to you. Did you look at that at all as where you're at now and then when you originally started? So that's my question.
Metacognition.
Yeah, that's a great question. When I first started out, I have always thought I'm cute. Okay, let's just put it that way. I was cute, but
which she is.
But I was not physically. I just was not there, and so for me, it was less of the physical self-consciousness, but more so the lack of discipline that comes with that motivation. And what I mean by that is, you know, those of us, especially those of us that have terminal degrees in education and all these other things that we went through to get to the top of our career, well, all that stuff took a lot of discipline.
Yes.
So, you know, it took motivation. It took, you know, times in which you did things that you didn't feel like doing, those late nights and early mornings writing those papers and, you know, connecting with your classmates and the people that you didn't even know if they wanted you to be in their study group or not, but you just busted up in there and you were in the study group. So that took motivation and confidence. You know, all of these transferable ideas about ourselves that I had to get me through a doctorate, and I was feeling very embarrassed as if those same techniques did not apply to my health and fitness. And so I had to start thinking to myself, like, for example, in my doctoral program, at first I thought, okay, I really don't belong here. I'm a first-generation college student from down in Southern Virginia that I'm now studying in D.C., and I really don't know what in the world I'm doing. And I later learned in my academic process that, no, I do belong here, and I am smart enough. And if I don't know something, I have access to it. Same thing with my physical fitness. I had to get to a place of belonging, of a place where I knew I had the discipline and the motivation to get it done. And even as I was standing there at the start line for 70.3, I wasn't quite sure I fit in, but clearly I did, because here we are. So that's where I am at the moment with that self-love and thought process.
I love it. Oh, that's so beautifully said. And so many transferable skills, you know, that I love it. Well, stay with us. When we come back, we're going to talk about the research on exercise addiction. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Viola Davis. Did you know that 1 in 5 kids in America struggle with hunger? Growing up, I was one of those kids, but we can solve this. When we make breakfast happen for kids in our neighborhood, we have the power to end childhood hunger, create bigger, brighter school days, and healthier minds and bodies. Go to hungeris.org and lend your time or your voice.
We're hungry for more.
A message from the Albertsons Companies Foundation and the Entertainment Industry Foundation.
My savings are gone.
Okay, where were they last?
Here, right before I spent them on the vacation to Aruba.
Weird. Not weird. Not saving now means no money later. For free ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. You know, I help people solve difficult problems every day, but one problem has me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. Luckily, the Feeding America network of local food banks collects surplus food, giving hope to hungry children and their families. But they need your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
If you're looking for that ratchet, you're in the wrong place. It's the nation's urban internet station, Sensation Station Network. In the interest of science.
Okay, so today's science is brought to you by Red Door Consulting. Red Door Consulting is a boutique management consulting firm that prides itself as an innovative leader in brand development. Tarshish Jordan, the owner, is an amazing, she's very passionate about branding and marketing, very knowledgeable, has an entire menu of services and workshops that she can bring to your organization. So contact Red Door Consulting. That is www.reddoorconsulting8.com. That's the number 8, reddoorconsulting8.com. Also brought to you by Heavenly Helpers Assistance. Do you need assistance for yourself or your loved ones? Call on Heavenly Helpers Assistance. They have uncompromising excellence, commitment to care. Go to heavenlyhelpersassistance.com for more information. All right, so today's research is looking at exercise addiction. And we don't hear about this a whole lot, right? We talk about gym heads and what are the gym rats or whatever, you know, and we talk about people who they're always in the gym and they're always working out. Where is it, you know, where's the line between being healthy, having a healthy fitness exercise lifestyle versus An addiction. Well, the key thing about addiction is usually that there's something, your life is negatively impacted and you're not able to function because of this thing that you have to do. So whether it's alcohol, whether it's sex, whether it's exercise, no matter what it is, if it's something that is negatively impacting your life socially, physically, in some kind of way, that is an indication that it may be an addiction. But according to this article here, it's written by Ray Cornell, Master's MA. Exercise addiction is a compulsive disorder in which a person feels the uncontrollable need to exercise excessively. It goes beyond simple enjoyment of exercise and often results in injury or illness. So now it's having a negative impact on your life. Like other behavioral addictions, a person must demonstrate most of the following symptoms to be considered as suffering from exercise addiction. So there's 7 of them here. There is loss of control, so the inability to control the urge of exercise. So you've just got to do it.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
I know.
Number 2 is continuance, continuing to exercise even in the presence of injuries, physical problems, psychological issues, or interpersonal problems. We see this a lot with professional athletes.
Yeah.
I was just talking to somebody this weekend who was saying that sometimes the athlete will hide the injury so that they can still compete. Intention effects, going beyond the original intended duration, frequency, intensity of exercising without meaning to do so.
Wow.
Time, spending a great deal of time engaging in, planning for, thinking about, like obsessing over this exercising. Your facial expressions are priceless.
Oh my God.
Really? There's 3 more. Reduction in other activities, spending less time in social, occupational, or other situations as a result of a direct result of exercise. Tolerance, needing to exercise more often for longer durations or at higher intensity to feel the desired effect than you originally did. But I thought that was normal. So I want to hold on to put a pin in that one, Dr. Shaunna, because I thought that's just what happens. And then the next one, the last one, is withdrawal, feelings of irritability, restlessness, or anxiety after a period without exercise. So like withdrawal, like you don't get that crack anymore, and now you're messed up. So
I am shocked.
So what? Yes, exercise addiction. Thoughts and Shaunna, I would love to hear what you have to say about this as well.
Yeah, this is really interesting because I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, like almost all 2,000 of those people that towed the line at Ironman Maryland or Ironman Atlantic City, that sounds like all of us.
Oh gosh.
I mean, that sounds like what we went through in order to get to that start point, which is fascinating to me. However, I also know that there's downtime. You know, there's time that we do take away from our families. And a lot of my friends who completed their races this year, they literally had a list of things that they were going to do the moment that the race was over that had nothing to do with exercise and fitness. And so I think that's a healthy balance.
Yes.
But, you know, when it becomes a detriment to your entire life, you're exactly right. There is an addiction going on if you don't see any relief. So, for example, you know, we had 7 months of training prior to our race. If that level of training continued on forever and ever and ever with no break, that would truly constitute an addiction in my mind.
No break until your body forces you to, even, you know, because at some point, something's going to happen.
Well, and you know, but that's a good point of itself too, because those of us that are into endurance racing, whether it's swimming, what have you, we have a certain line that we flirt with quite a bit because we know the pain of certain distances, but is that the pain of an injury or just the pain of the long suffering of endurance racing, for example? You know, I know the difference between going out here right now and running 10 miles versus, oh, my hip is going to fall off. That's 2 different types of pain. But if you don't have determination between the 2, then you can get yourself into trouble.
Wow.
To me, it sounds like it's again being aware of where you're at in your process.
Yes.
Because I don't want to say dumbfounded, but just the addictions that can be even associated with something that I think is being constructive and positive, and how there can still be a slippery slope, and it become more destructive.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I just...
Well, and anything, I mean, I can't think of anything that if you do too much of in a compulsive way that can be good for you. You know, I mean, sex is wonderful, but there's a point at which it can become an addiction, and not just because you like to do it a lot, but the addiction is when it starts to negatively impact your life and you're willing to sacrifice anything to do it.
True. Yeah, true. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And now there is some disagreement among the scholars about what actually constitute sexual. No, I'm talking about not sexual addiction.
See where your mind is at. Where your mind is at. Mind thoughts.
Focus. Back on track. Exercise addiction. Yes. So there is some disagreement about what actually, constitutes exercise addiction. Because as like the point with tolerance, needing to exercise more often for longer durations or at higher intensity, somebody may say, well, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's a sign of addiction. I think the key word here, though, as I'm reading it again, tolerance, is needing to, exercise more often for longer durations or higher intensity. I guess that need is probably what makes it.
But what if it's like something in your path, in your experience, where it's necessary for you to do? For me, it's like defining the need. Like, is it a need where, oh my gosh, I'm going to die, and it's a negative experience, or is it? You get what I'm saying?
I think I think it's a mental. If you don't feel you're worthy, you don't feel like you're worth it.
Right.
If you don't do it harder or faster or longer.
So it gets back to your thoughts. Like, what is it that what is driving you to do this?
Yeah.
Other than, health reasons, stuff, but what's driving you? Like, what's underneath?
Yeah.
That
is it
that
low
drive?
Self-worth? Or is it, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Great.
Okay, well, we're going to come back, and then we're going to look at myths about body transformation. And so stay with us on the Live Exchange.
I am an American soldier. I'm a warrior and a member of a team.
I serve the people of the United States and live the Army values.
I will always place finish first.
I will never accept defeat.
I will never accept defeat.
I will never quit.
I will never leave a fallen comrade.
I am disciplined.
I am disciplined.
Physically and mentally tough.
Trained and proficient in my warrior tasks and drills.
I always maintain my arms, my equipment, and myself.
I am an expert, and I am a professional.
I stand ready to deploy, engage, and destroy the
enemies of the United States of America in close combat.
I am a guardian of freedom and the American way of life.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
There's strong, and there's Army strong. See what it takes at GoArmy.com.
Leaders aren't born. They're made, and not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
Your balance with Dr. Pamela. Dr. Pamela. Dr. Pamela.
All right, welcome back. The balance challenge for this week. So I want you all to do something different, do something new this week. So I am a terrible creature of habit. So whatever it is that I do when I work out, I want to do the same thing. I don't want anybody to bother me. I don't want anybody to tell me to go faster. I don't want anybody to tell me to put the, the elevation up. No, I'm going to do what I'm doing. It's working for me. It's always worked. So I'm going to leave it there. This week I want you, and myself included, to do something different. Get on, if you're a gym rat like myself, get on a different piece of equipment. If you are a gym rat, try something different. Go outside. Go outside.
There's options.
There are things to do outside. Find a new sport. But I challenge you this week. If you usually exercise 3 days a week, try 5. I'm on this new thing where I'm trying some stuff. So that's my challenge for you this week, is to try something different. Stretch yourself beyond your comfort zone. I love it. Anything to add to that, either of you?
That's good stuff. I mean, for me, it's
absolutely.
It's like alternatives. You have choices in everything that you do, and so it's just like bring some just loving to yourself in a different way. So yeah.
Dr. Shaunna, anything?
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. I mean, for me, it's always the little things. So, like, if you run a mile in 12 minutes, try doing it in 11:45. Try doing it in 10:45. Whatever it takes, but make those small changes. For me, when I first started running, it was okay. You've ran down to the third house. Try running down to the fourth.
Ooh.
Those small changes to push you out of your comfort zone. Absolutely.
Okay, we're going to talk a little bit more about that when we come back.
The world is changing.
And we are changed. Sensation Station Network. Radio of Doctor.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. I help people solve difficult problems every day, but one problem has me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. Luckily, the Feeding America network of local food banks collects surplus food, giving hope to hungry children and their families. But they need your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans. When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer. I want to be a warm fleece on a cold day. Football stadium. I want to be a bike that races around the country. I want to be a bench on a forest trail. When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
And so a new American industry has been born. Sensation Station Network.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and it sounds like we should have Janelle do a little spoken word set with this music. I love it. Love it. We are talking about life transformation, sculpting the body, taming the mind. It's a two-tier thing. You can't really sculpt the body without taming the mind, and when you tame the mind, you transform your life. So we have joining us on the phone Dr. Shaunna Payne Gold, who is founder of Shiro Athletics, educator, competitor, and we have sitting next to me Danelle Porcher, founder of SOAR. Yes. And so before the break, we were talking about the balance challenge, which is to challenge yourself to do something different. But we were also talking about this concept of exercise addiction, and what I didn't say is that there are two types of exercise addiction. One is primary exercise addiction, and this is people who it's not connected to psychological or behavioral conditions. It's just you're just compulsively exercising. Mm-hmm. Secondary exercise condition is in conjunction with another disorder like anorexia, having a preoccupation with self-image, a preoccupation with being perfect, being overly concerned with rules and what other people think. So that's the secondary exercise addiction, and it's considered to be a little bit more extreme than the primary. But Dr. Shaunna, you were talking about, you had mentioned FOMO. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I find that, a lot of people do over-exercise because they're trying to use it as social hour, And so we do have those gym rats like myself sometimes that stand around and we talk to somebody, but I'm talking about running additional miles or swimming longer or hanging out on the bikes more and doing double the mileage that you need to do because you want to be affiliated with a particular group. I see it happening over and over and over again. Wow. People that don't train for marathons, but then they register for them, they put all their money on the line, and then they go out there and get close to killing themselves trying to cover 26.2 miles because their girlfriends are doing it.
Oh, my gosh.
This happens often. And now, for me, I love myself a little bit too much to go out there and run 26.6 for anybody. But there truly are some people who consider it their social hour, and so they will do more than what's necessary in order to be affiliated with other people.
Wow. That is so interesting. So it's led by a social acceptance. Is that correct? I mean, I'm just, they used to bother me because I'd go and work out and I'm like, yo, stop standing around. Don't talk to me. Let me get into my business and finish it because I'm trying to finish. I'm trying to breathe.
And I am the worst at that in January, which I just need the Lord to work on me, because I know in January memberships go up, and people are starting their New Year's resolutions and so forth, and I'm not mad about that. But for those of us that are, kind of the year-round gym rats, we have to kind of work and maneuver around the new folks, which, I pack my patience, hopefully, but, you have to maneuver around the folks that they want to have these long, drawn-out conversations. And I don't know about most people, but I work out at 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't want to have a conversation with anybody. I don't care how wonderful you are. I want to get in and get out, get it done. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of conversation during working out at all. I mean, I am already an introvert, and that is my introverted moment, to be able to be on treadmill, whatever I'm on, and I'm writing books in my head. I'm fantasizing about things. Like, I don't want people interrupting me.
For me, it's like a connection. For me, it's like just a set for the day. Because I know, again, I'm getting back into my routine and figuring out with the life that I have now. Because prior to, I had a different life. I was single, it was all about me. But then things have blossomed, things grow. And so finding that balance. But for me, it's a connection. For me, it's an alignment. It's me, I'm consorting. For me is higher spirit, So it's just,
I do some of that too, a little bit.
Yeah. And then you get like different. Maybe you might get visualization sometimes, just different things. But yeah, I feel you on that.
That's interesting. And one of the things that you mentioned also before the break, Shaunna, was that, when you're pushing yourself, instead of running to the 5th house, I'll run to the 6th house or something like that. And that is, I do that a lot. I say, okay, I'm going to go 10 minutes running straight, and for me that's a huge accomplishment. And then I'll walk, and so when do you find that helps in general? Because it's something I do without having read it or anything. It's just what I do. Is that a strategy that's pretty common?
Yeah, I would say it's very common for me and very common for the people that I train with, that there's always this looking for the next thing. Whatever it may be. Let's look for the next thing, whether it's going from the 3rd house to the 4th house down the block, or, we rode 30 miles on the bike this week. We want to ride 35. Whatever it may be, there's always this push to the next thing. Right. One of the things that we laugh about often is that, everybody thinks that an Ironman 140.6 is the longest distance of endurance athleticism, when actually it's not. They actually have ultra Ironmans that go even further than that distance. And so it seems like we are kind of addicted to the pushing ourselves outside of our comfort zone once we find it. Mm-hmm. And so, I think that should be something that many of us adopt, though, is how do we push ourselves out of the comfort zone? I remember when 3 miles was a huge stretch for me, and now it's relatively common for me, but I had to work up to that point. Right. That did not happen from day one. And so you only go further if you push further.
Exactly. So then, so you got 30 seconds, but what's the line between pushing harder and being addicted?
I think that, there needs to be a decision-making process between pushing harder but also knowing what's important in life. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I probably would love to get an extra 2 or 3 miles in, but if that means I'm going to be late for my son's program, then that's just going to have to wait.
That's a great
Someone
example.
Who's addicted would go ahead and get those extra miles.
That is a great example. Okay, well, stay with us. We'll be right back, and this time we are going to talk about myths about body transformation. Stay with us on the Live Exchange.
There's a power you have within you, unlike any other. You can't explain it. It's just there. It drives you, compels you. You cannot ignore it. Do you feel it? It's that power that tells you you can do the absolute impossible. The power that tells you you're more than what you currently are. The power that tells you it's time. Launch. Move. Skyrocket your life with Rocket Sports One fitness gear. RocketSports-One.com.
So, I'm a dog, and I just got adopted by this new human guy, and I'm starting to wonder how he got along without me. I mean, okay, something as simple as walking around the block. He's got this leash thing, and he puts me on one end and him on the other, and I'm just taking him around. I think he's afraid of getting lost. Without that leash and me guiding him along, I don't think he'd find his way back home. But it's kind of cute.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Great leaders aren't born. They're made. And not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
We're more connected than ever before. 90% of America's students use some form of social media, but not all of it's used in a good way. Hurtful posts online are leading to social isolation for many. Psychologists say it's bullying in a brand new way. Well, Beyond Differences and I Keep Safe are looking to change that with ideas for students, their parents, and even teachers. Take the pledge to be kind online and learn more at wearekindonline.com.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and we're talking about life transformation, sculpting the body, taming the mind. Give us a call if you have any questions, comments, you'd like to interject some way, shape, or form. You can call us or text us at 678-613-5857. That's 678-613-5857. You can either call or text. And you can also leave us comments on the live Facebook broadcast, and we'll comment back and answer your questions, anything you have. So there is an article from Body Transform, and it talks about myths of body transformation. And I think a lot of us, because we don't get formal training and formal education unless we seek it out, about how to actually transform our bodies. And so I'm going to go through a couple of them here, and I'm going to stop in between each one. But the first one, as long as I'm exercising, it doesn't matter as much. Oh, wait. As long as I'm exercising, it doesn't matter how much I eat. Or what, it doesn't matter how, oh gosh, I'm really messing this up. It doesn't matter what I eat. So what I eat really doesn't matter as much as long as I'm exercising. True or false?
Ooh, child, no. Nowhere, not at all. And I'll give you great examples of this too, where I have some folks that I know of that have actually gained weight training for a marathon, for example. Now you would think that you would be melting like butter, right. But when you're eating more than you're burning, then that makes a huge difference. So no. So not even close to being true.
And that's what I understand. The recipe is, and this is just for weight loss. This isn't for blood pressure, diabetes, for weight loss. It's the ratio to calories consumed to calories burned. Right. So you burn more calories than you consume, you lose weight. Doesn't necessarily mean you're healthy, but that's the weight loss formula. Right. Am I understanding that correctly?
Okay. Absolutely. And what happens is that, folks assume that, I must have burned 500 calories on this run, but I'm going to go and have a 2,000 calorie meal. That's not how this works.
Just went out the window.
Not at all.
Gone.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a good one. The more I exercise, the more body fat I will lose.
Now, for me, I don't know if that's true or not, because my interpretation, because again, I'm a nurse, there's several things that I do, but it has been explained to me that you never actually lose the fat cells. They just shrink. So I don't know. As long as you, lose weight or as you're transforming your body. So yeah, that whole concept of losing the actual fat cells, I don't know.
That's interesting.
I don't know. I put that out there. I don't know. What do you think? I don't know. I think they shrink versus do they actually get gone?
What do you think, Shaunna?
That's a good question. Well, I don't know if they're actually gone, because I'm not an expert in this area, but what's interesting is that, you know, once again, we're exercising, but we may be building muscle, for example.
Right.
So, you know, there's some of us who dip down and we lose a certain amount of fat, but then we gain muscle after that.
Yes.
So, you know, when I was training, this is way back in the day, when I was getting ready to compete in Miss Virginia. Well, I dropped from 175 down to 135, but I looked my best at 150 after I had gained some muscle. So, and I was still, you know, consistently exercising. So I don't have a clear answer to that one, but you may be gaining muscle.
And that's a really good point for people like me who are scale obsessed, you know, because
Are you scale obsessed?
I'm scale obsessed. So I know when I was a certain, like I knew what weight I was when I fit into all the clothes that are in my closet that I can't fit into now. Okay. So I'm just determined, let me just get back to that weight and everything will be all right. And I, you know, and I do know, I mean, I realize that it's not always about what's on the scale.
Yeah, because it's like being aware, because again, from what I've observed and seen and practiced and everything else, your muscle is heavier than fat. So as you're transforming, you know, you might put on weight, but the scale might be kind of skewing your perspective.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. I mean, I'll just be happy if I can fit in the jeans again, but I just...
if you have like a big wad like muscle, you know, you might not fit, but it, you know, might be a little tight, but again, you're transforming your body.
Right.
So,
right.
Good stuff.
Well, yeah. And I've had to accept some things like, okay, not that I've given up or anything, but I also acknowledge that I look good as I am now. So it's more of an obsession that I want to get back in those clothes. I'm not buying a whole new wardrobe. When I went and bought pants that are the size I wear now, I looked pretty awesome in them. So I'm like, okay.
That's all that matters.
What do I need to do? Do I need to keep trying to squeeze in the old ones or just...
Exactly.
Embrace what's new.
Right. So, you know, just because I do this show, don't mean I'm perfect now. I got some, you know, stuff I'm working through just like everybody else. This is why I bring on experts like Dr. Shaunna, so I can learn some things. All right, so we are going to get into the love notes.
Love Notes with Dr. Pamela.
Okay, so today's love note is brought to you by Wine Crawl Atlanta. Join us this Saturday, September 30th, for a private wine tour via luxury transportation. We'll begin our journey at the W Hotel in Midtown and then board a luxury coach to visit wine bars and restaurants around the city, mixing, mingling, and tasting as we go. Go to Wine Crawl Atlanta on Facebook to register today. I did hear that tickets are sold out, but they've added another date, which is November 11th. So if for some reason you can't get in this Saturday, I highly recommend that you try for for November 11th. I will be there. All right. So the letter is, Dear Dr. Pamela, I truly struggle to find the motivation to exercise. It's just not enjoyable to me, and I dread the thought of it. I see these people on social media who are all into it and seem to genuinely love it. I don't get it. Why would I want to go run in the heat, get achy muscles, and exhaust myself when I can just chill on my couch? I know that sounds terrible. It really does, but that's just how I feel. How do I change that? Lachelle. I have to toss this one over to you, Dr. Shaunna. What do you think?
Well, I have to say that I commiserate with this person because, yes, as much as I've done triathlon and I can't even count the number of miles that I've covered this year and so forth, I, too, would love to stay in bed in the morning and not get up at early hours. And I, too, would love to sit on the couch and do nothing. You know, of course, you know, we have that little bit of reservation when it comes to doing things. But, you know, here's the key. I think a lot of people feel forced into certain pigeonholes of types of activity, and they never find what they truly love. So, you know, for example, I have a friend that really loves ballet. She probably will never run a mile. She probably will never get on a bike, and running, you might as well forget it. But ballet is her love. And so if that's a physical activity that she truly loves and will motivate her to get up, then that's what I condone, and she has been committed to it. And so I think the problem becomes we don't have any motivation, and then later on we definitely don't have any discipline to keep going. So find what you love doing and stick to that.
I think that is a great example, great advice. Ballet, skating, you know, whatever it is, canoeing, whatever you got to do when you row your arms. What is that? You know, kayaking, something that will create some kind of physical activity.
I think that's, again, it goes back to that somehow in some way, like finding what it is that helps support and serve you, because again, it's about making you happy and you feeling supported through your life so that you can show up in the best format of you. So for me, that's what I look at, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
And whatever, because it's about being active.
Yes.
I think that's what it gets down to, being active and the care for yourself. So
yeah, and I think people miss that there's a variety of ways to do that. And if there's something that you're passionate about, so or some other area in your life that you want to improve, then maybe mix that with exercise. So if you're in a relationship and you want to find more ways for the two of you to do things together, maybe the two of you join a dance class together, or something that will maybe make it a double benefit in order to do it. So no, I think that's great advice. I've been thinking about doing ballet for a few years now, actually. So that's why I loved your example so much.
That's right. Well, and you know, even people that love certain areas, they can fall out of love with it too.
Right.
I mean, you know, I have friends that are multiple-time marathoners who despise running at the moment because they've just burnt themselves out. And so, you know, mix it up a little bit and try something different. And you know, going back to pushing yourself, you know, push yourself in a different direction.
I love it. I love it.
Great
Okay.
stuff.
All right. Well, when we come back, a couple more myths about transformation, and stay with us. We'll be right back.
Now we come to the special feature of our program.
Sensation Station Network.
I'm sorry. I love this song.
Gigging up here.
Welcome back.
Break it
Welcome back to Live Exchange. We are in the second hour of the show, and wow, did the first hour go really fast. So we've got even more great information that we're going to be talking to today. We're talking about self-discipline, competitive fitness, life transformation, and I have a fierce competitor on the phone, and she's talking about her own journey, and her name is Dr. Shaunna Payne Gold. She's an educator at the University of Maryland and founder of She Row Athletics, and sitting next to me is Danelle Porcher, and she is got some great insight too. I just learned she's a nurse. I did not know this.
I know.
So
I come in many fast.
she has a lot to bring to the table. So we're going to go ahead and can get into this, or continue with this conversation about changing your life and life transformation. So we're talking about myths about body transformation. And another one, myth, I need to have a personal trainer with me or I can't exercise properly. What do you all think about that?
I would say that a lot of people need the personal trainer to motivate them, but not necessarily to do things correctly. So I'll give you a great example of this, and I hope this is okay as a shameless plug, but my trainer, my coach for my Ironman 70.3 was Robin Marion, who's the founder and owner of Velvet and Steel Fitness in Waldorf, Maryland. And she actually has a mode of virtual training where she will create a virtual plan for you month by month, and you follow that plan. So if she tells you, you know, this many repetitions of that, then you do that 2 or 3 days a week. And so she makes the plan very clear, and it really comes from an internal motivation, not an external one. She will know if you cheated or not based on what your body looks like the next time you see her.
Your body will tell
but, you know,
absolutely.
Absolutely. And so, you know, having that self-motivation to at least keep the process going. But I don't think you need a personal trainer to get it done.
Yeah. Okay.
I think some people need training on the nutritional.
Well,
I mean, like the point on that, or at least for myself. I speak for myself.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny. That's
I'm
actually the next one. Understanding nutrition is complicated and best left to the experts. True or false? You know, but to your point, some people do need some information about nutrition.
Well, yeah, because I have found in practice, and again, even in my personal experience, where, you know, what is it to eat, and what do I eat, and what is a balance? Because again, you know, reality, you have people who are not going to be, you know, a Mo Explode where they're eating like vegan or vegetarian, or or it's a consistency. So how to find that balance for yourself so that you get the ideal, either if it's a weight or weight loss or the toning up or whatever. So for me, it's just like, I feel like there needs to be assistance, but eventually, training,
kind of
and
go
then
off on your own after that.
like get a foundation. Because many times we find that, and this is just in everything, we're going off of what we've been taught, but then when you come aware to what it is that you need and would like to do different, getting that support.
Right.
So
I think so.
I don't know.
I think you know what the answer to that is. We hire personal chefs who are aware of
exactly,
and they handle all our food. We don't have to think about a thing.
Until I need to.
Exactly.
Now, Shaunna, I've seen you post about the meal prep and how you can you talk a little bit about that, because it's a beautiful sight to see, but it looks like a whole lot of work.
Oh yeah.
Well, it is a good amount of work. For me, I have two little boys. I have a 6-year-old and I have a 3-year-old. And so truly, by the time I've worked out early in the morning, I've gone to work all day, they've had extracurricular activities and so forth, I'm walking in the door thinking, all right, please no, I'm not going to cook anything from scratch right now. So, for me, it really helps me to narrow down my choices.
Okay.
So I know that, I'm going to have this particular meal for lunch for the next couple of days, or I know this dinner is already waiting, so it saves me both time and energy for my family, but also not having to think about the bad choices that are out there, because there are a lot of bad choices.
And the bad choices are so easy and cheap. Sorry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And so, during training it was much tighter, but even before that, I tried to have only one day out of the week that I actually ate out, something else at my dining hall or something else within College Park when I'm at work. But otherwise, I try to bring those in. And so for me, I do as much as I can on the weekend. So if I do all of my meat prep, for example, and then I throw together a salad on the side during the week, that saves me time, saves me money, definitely.
Right.
But that has worked tremendously for me.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So with what it is that you have discovered for yourself and in balancing your life, does your family eat the same meals? Or are you actually prepping two types of meals, for your family, for yourself, so that you feel supported? And so I'm curious.
If you can give a quick
That's
answer.
a good question.
Yeah. I'm just throwing out there. Yeah.
That's a great question. Do you have a quick answer? Or should we do it when we come back?
Yeah, let's do it when we come back. I got a little strategy for you.
Okay, all right. We'll talk about that strategy when we come back on the Live Exchange.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. I help people solve difficult problems every day, but one problem has me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. Luckily, the Feeding America network of local food banks collects surplus food, giving hope to hungry children and their families. But they need your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Your health is at stake. Diabetes.
Diabetes, cancer, heart disease. Yeah, right. I'm too young to worry about all of that. Or am I? Millions of Americans are being diagnosed younger and younger each year. I guess it's really no surprise with how much our lifestyles have changed. More fried fast foods, extreme stress from work. 176 million people in North America consume unhealthy drinks. I know I do. Who could be next? My brother? My sister? Me? I think it's time to make a difference, and so should you. Extreme X2O alkaline water, designed to cleanse your body with just 2 simple steps: shake and wait. Not only will it help clean your kidneys, liver, and intestines, but it also helps with weight loss and anti-aging. Sign me up today. AbundantLifeMovement.com. I better go call my sister to let her know about this. You should really tell a friend too, because is it really going to kill you to shake and wait?
Great leaders aren't born. They're made, and not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
Deliberate dumbing down.
Dumb down society.
Deliberate dumbing down of America.
Dumb down public. Why would they do this?
Sensation Station Network. Radio, not dumb down.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. So right before the break, we had a question from Danelle, and it was, can you ask it again?
My question from our expert, because I'm getting this good stuff, how is it that is your family eating the prep that you are prepping for yourself? Is the foods, are they the same, the different, or are you preparing two different meals to support you through the week in your transformation and maintaining your transformation?
Right.
So, yeah.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, I have to say, I have to defer to my husband, Adam. He is the chef of the century. So when it comes to a lot of my meat prep, so for example, if I know that I want grilled chicken a couple of days a week, or if I want salmon or what have you, he'll throw that on the grill over the weekend, and I know that I have that there to portion along with my vegetables. So that may be one big piece of the puzzle. But the second piece, though, are a lot of the sides are crossover meals for the boys. So, for example, I'm in that conundrum now where I have my oldest son who is picky about everything, and my youngest son who will eat anything. And so always trying to please them.
Yes.
So some of the crossover items that I do have, they actually both like. So sweet potatoes, white potatoes, for example, they love both of those. When I'm prepping my fruit portions, because, of course, even with fruit sounds like it's great, but too much of that can even be bad for you. So, portioning out my fruit for myself and for them. So there are some portions of that can be crossover meals for your family, but I'm not expecting them to eat, everything that I eat. I do protein shakes, for example, when I'm training. I'm not expecting them to do that. But there are pieces to the puzzle that still apply to them.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. And it's funny how you mentioned you got one kid who would eat anything and one kid who won't eat anything, and I have the same dichotomy with my two kids. One will eat things that I wouldn't even dream of touching. He's so open-minded. I love it. And my daughter is just like, ice, please.
Like that's all you want to eat?
Right.
So it's so it's interesting when you're incorporating family into the equation.
Yeah,
very interesting. So one other myth. Let's see. I don't have time to get in shape. What would your response be to that?
Oh, goodness. I just want to take this phone and throw it out the window when I hear that happen. Oh,
You're
my
quite
goodness.
busy. Yeah.
Oh, so frustrating. And, I would rather people say that they just choose not to make the time to do it. Truly. Just say you don't want to do it. Because, the reality is we now have, matter of fact, I was just talking about this with my training partner this morning at the gym. There are gyms that are 24 hours. They are open 24 hours a day.
Yes.
You can pay to be a member of those gyms. And, oh, by the way, if you don't want to pay your money to be a member of those gyms, outdoors is always available. So, to me, I'm like, come on, unbelievably. People can find pockets of time to do what they want to do when they want to.
This is true. This is true. I agree. And I know that, and for me, my time has gotten tighter than it has been in the past. The gym that I go to, I love the gym that I go to, but it's probably about a good 15-minute drive from my house, which normally that's not too bad. But then I think about the drive back, that's 30 minutes, and it is just, when I have an early meeting, it's like, so what I've done, instead of making the excuse that I can't sacrifice that extra half hour just for the commute alone, is I'll just, then I've got to do my workout at home in the neighborhood. So I'm not going to give myself that excuse, because I had been for, a good month or so, like, well, no, I can't lose that time and go all the way to the gym and all the way back. Well, you don't have to go to the gym.
Well, here's my question, Dr. Shaunna. So, what if it's a situation where, and I like putting out scenarios, where it's someone who it might not be where they don't want to do it, but has fallen into a form of a depression, or, can't manage to just get out of the rut. So my question to you, in your training process, have you ever had that experience, and what did you, or how did you usher your way back into where you're training? Because I know where it's like we've shared before, where it's not a continuous thing. It's 7 months on a training and then again taking maybe some time off and walking away and doing doing other than training, but keeping a maintenance. So my question to you is, how have you handled those type of experiences to those who might be, suffering from a form of depression, like
stuck.
they can't move.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Question.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great question. It's huge, and especially now, this is perfect timing for it because a lot of people have seasonal depression as well. So as soon as we start getting into those shorter days where it's it's dark when you get up in the morning, it's dark when you get off work, and it's just not helpful for us to only have a certain number of daylight hours. So I get what you're saying there. For me personally, I had major depression after my grandfather passed. So and I was kind of going through this weird space of I became a runner after my first son, but before my second son. Right. And so I knew I was going to have a certain amount of downtime when I gave birth to my son. But within that same time frame, my grandfather passed when my son was 11 days old and still in NICU. Wow. And so my one and only outlet, I used to joke, other than eating and drinking, the only other thing I can do is work out, and I can't even do those three right now. So for me, it was trying to see that little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. My youngest son, 2 weeks after he was born, I took a walk. And I said, okay, I'm just going to push him in the stroller and walk for 15 minutes and see how I feel. And I didn't want to do it, didn't even like doing it. After I did it, I was still like, I just want to go sit down somewhere. And so now my rule is kind of that 15-minute rule. Even the mornings when you don't feel like it, get up and just do something for 15 minutes. Yes. Many times you can work your way out of it within the 15 minutes, but even if you don't work your way out of it and you go back and lay back down or sit down or what have you, you've at least gotten that 15 minutes in. Yeah. So it's very much an incremental process.
Oh. And I love that because I think what's key is the routine. It doesn't matter what you do, but if you can just get yourself in that routine, and like you said, maybe it won't knock you out of the depression in that 15-minute period, for the moment. But that consistency is eventually going to yield something, if you give it time and just keep doing it.
What I'm enjoying hearing is just the attempt, because some people think, or I have thought in past where I have to do 45 minutes, like I do an hour. Yeah. But just simply 15, if it's 10, if that's the only thing that you can do, you did something for that day and it was intentional. You did it on purpose. Right. I have to get out of the bed. I have to attempt. So I think that's wonderful. Thank you.
And I think what I found is that the body craves more. Over time anyway. The body just wants more. And so you're eventually going to do more. So don't be too hard on yourself if you're only doing 15 minutes or you're, because that's exactly how I started. I've always been athletic, but there was a time where I'm not in a sport. So now I've got to I don't have a coach that's going to penalize me if I'm not at practice, So I had to figure out my own self-discipline. And that's what I did. I started with 20 minutes walking on the treadmill every day. And it just increased, over time. Awesome. Yeah. So yeah. I agree with that. Oh. Okay, we're going to get into.
And I would say too. Just adding on to that really quickly. What happens is that your motivation ends up becoming your routine. So a great example of that, for example. No, I love to eat. Okay, I really do. I love to eat, but I made a lot of sacrifices with nutrition while I was training for my big race. Well, it's been 2 weeks now, and I still find myself in my routine of going to the grocery store, buying some of the same things that I ate while I was training, because now it's more than just a fad or any of that. It's now a routine. So yeah, I still eat my salads even though I'm not training for anything right now. Right. So once you start building on that incremental starting point, it will become a good habit.
Right, right. I love it.
I feel like it's like embrace has been incorporated into your, like this is your life now. I think that's, Okay.
I think we just love patterns and regularity and knowing, what's coming next. Right. So, all right, we're going to go to trending topics.
Lack of diversity. Gas prices.
Michael Jackson. Trending topics.
Okay, so the first hour we had about 5 trending topics to talk about, and I got to one, and that was that was the one about the president chastising the athletes for their, and I do want to come back to that, but the first one is North Korea accusing Donald Trump of declaring war on the country and saying that they might shoot down U.S. warplanes flying around the Korean peninsula. And now, so this comes after a tweet. He loves tweeting. I'm going to do a study on these tweets. I promise you I'm going to go through and just do some kind of analysis, the time of day, what's going on, what was the focus. You want to do this with me?
Absolutely.
Okay, because I'm so serious. What do you say?
even the timing of them. Sometimes I think he just wakes up in the middle of the night and starts tweeting. So I want to know if he has like this average number of tweets at midnight.
Yeah, I think there's a phenomenon behind it, and I want to know like what's going on. And we can use some kind of mental health thing as the theoretical framework, because there's some kind of
keyword. You said mental health.
I'm just saying. Okay, but anyway, so there was some kind of there was a tweet that he sent, and I don't have it verbatim in front of me. I should have clicked on the link, but it was to the extent that we're going to destroy North Korea, and and they basically translated that as that was a threat of war, and we are in war zone now. And according to that's there, we are in the mindset of war now because you have just threatened to destroy us. It is we'll see how the saga unfolds.
For me, it's like it's two narcissistic people, because we know we've seen the characteristics of the leader of the world in North Korea, and I'm just like, I'm just like, there's no down. It's like meeting of male to male, like just ego. It's ego at play right now.
On steroids, something. I don't know.
I don't know how it's gonna come.
Yeah. So it's also been reported that Jay-Z, for those of you who don't know, he's a rapper. He's recently turned down an offer to perform at the upcoming Super Bowl in February, which will be here in Atlanta, by the way. I need to get my house on Airbnb.
No, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, so he's turned down an offer to perform at the upcoming Super Bowl, and speculations are that it may, and I don't like to speculate, but this is a speculation, so I do want to highlight that.
Okay.
We do not know this is fact, but that it may have to do with the blackballing of Colin Kaepernick. And so he doesn't want to support the NFL in what's going on with the kneeling versus the standing and that whole debate.
Did you happen to catch the town hall last night meeting on CNN?
I can't.
Okay.
But
okay.
I can only read the news these days. I just can't. But what did I miss?
No, it was just interesting. They had a panel. It was 4, and I don't know all the names, so I did know Spike Lee. Spike Lee was up there.
It sounds like okay.
Yeah, there was 2 football NFL players, So one was a reverend, another one he's active in, and then there was the guy who did the meetup with Kaepernick.
Okay, was it the general?
He's a
Green Beret.
The Green Beret.
Okay.
He was there.
Yeah,
it was really, and it was really good.
I should turn the TV on.
Well, it was really good. I just happened, like I said, I had gotten home like around 11. It was late, because I don't catch up on much TV. But it was interesting to see the dialogue that took place and where I feel like it's necessary. And they even had active NFL players that were satellite in and their view and sharing their experience as to what it is and the reasons for themselves as why they're taking a knee or they're standing in solidarity or whichever act is going on during the national anthem. And it was an interesting dialogue because there was also another person that was there, a wife of an NFL player. An event had happened and in regards to him being violated as far as the police officers, and they tried to correct things behind closed doors. And it was one of those things where they still never got the initiative or the push. They still got the door closed, and they're just like, what do we do? And it's just like, well, now you need to be vocal about it. So it was just so many different perspectives that were being shared, and I was just like, it was special to hear. Because one of the things that the Green Beret, and I'm sorry I can't remember his name, he was just like, I'm earnestly trying to listen. And do my best to understand the other person's side. And he was just like, one of the things, and I'm paraphrasing.
His name is Nate Boyer, by the way.
Nate Boyer, okay. One of the things he said, I'm doing my best to listen. And again, I'm paraphrasing. I'm not saying exactly how he said, but to listen and do my best to understand the other person's perspective, because that is one of the main things that I don't see in general that's being seen. So I thought it was very enlightening. I'm sure they'll play it again, but it's.
I agree. I think that we are lacking in listening skills severely, and it's really about I feel and I can't tell you how many times I've seen this. I feel what I feel, and that's it.
And it's just like there's no other experience that other people may be having, and I feel like that's where and it's again, they keep repeating, saying it's not about disrespect. It's not about disrespect, and people being so solid in their belief, in their view, and it's just like, where's the compassion?
Yeah.
Where is the understanding? Where is the love to be able to see beyond, just another experience that somebody may be having?
Right, that there's some validity to that experience.
Right.
I just saw a picture of a Georgia Tech cheerleader. She was kneeling during the national anthem, I just thought, has anybody looked at like this Georgia Tech cheerleader or these other players to say why are they kneeling and what's going on? And for those of you who have forgotten, yes, a lot of people have joined in because of what Donald Trump said this weekend, to stand up against him. But I think it's important for us to remember that the reason why this began was because of the racism and discrimination and the police brutality that's happened. And so the movement, and if it means bringing in other people who are angry with Donald Trump to stand for this movement against racism and police brutality, so be it. Well, I welcome you in, but I need you guys to understand that this is where it began, and this is what, while there are many issues on the table, I definitely don't want to lose sight of the issue of police brutality against people of color. So, Dr. Shaunna, do you have anything to add? I know we're just talking.
Yeah, I think that the flag is a huge diversion. I think that taking a knee is a huge diversion, and I think we really need to get back to the issue because, I've heard it said more than once that everyone is in outrage at the kneeling, but no one is in outrage about the reasons behind the kneeling. Yeah. And I think that's where we haven't done a whole lot of complex thinking, conversations, or dialogue about any of those issues. Let's get to the root cause of it.
And that's what was so beautifully stated by one of the current NFL. And again, I'm not a football player, but he was just like, and I have stated what it is I'm looking because of why I'm taking a knee. He was just like, these are the reasons why and he listed them from 1, 2, 3. And again, I don't want to butcher what he shared, but it was like, this is what I'm requesting. This is what I'm standing for, or taking a knee for.
And I think that's what people are asking for, what's being requested. And I think what we're missing nowadays, unlike what we had in the past, is we had that one leader, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, we had these icons, and we don't see that now. However, I would venture to say that we do have those leaders, but we're so divided in who we want to follow and why, and when other people come to the table, what are they here for? There's so much division that it's going to be very difficult for us to move forward with one agenda until we can figure out how to resolve these divisions. Yeah. So. All right.
And Dr. Pamela, yes. I would agree, too. I mean, we have those leaders, but remember, Dr. King, Malcolm X, all of them were controversial in their time, and not everyone was with them as they say they are now.
Absolutely. Oh, isn't it amazing what happens over time? All right. We'll be right back.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
I'm more resourceful than I thought.
My suit can still make an impression.
My video games are still game changers.
And my lamp can bring others a bright future.
Because when I donate my stuff to Goodwill,
it helps fund job placement and training for people right in my community.
Now my stuff gets a second chance.
And will give someone in my community
a second chance too.
Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. That's goodwill.org. This message brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
My savings are gone.
Okay, where were they last?
Here, right before I spent them on that vacation to Aruba.
Weird. Not weird. Not saving now means no money later. For free ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Don't know the power of the Sensation Station Network. The power.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and today we are talking about life transformation, sculpting the body, taming the mind. Give us a call, 678-613-5857, or you can text that same number, 678-613-5857, or leave us a message on Facebook Live, and we will respond. Even if you leave a message after we're done broadcasting, we'll respond then as well. I have with me Danelle Porcher sitting next to me, and Dr. Shaunna Payne Gold. Well, I keep calling you Gold. I don't know. Because you got goals. That's why.
You go.
She's got goals.
Okay.
And so we are, one of the things I'd like to talk about is self-esteem. And I know it sounds obvious. Yeah. You work out, you feel good about yourself, and you've got high self-esteem. But I would like to talk about it. I want to make sure that we actually deal with it. And so according to Healthy Living, there are many ways exercise can increase your self-esteem. But here are some specific ways that it can help your self-esteem. So lifting weights has been found to lower anxiety, which is interesting. Aerobic classes can improve mental positivity. Tai Chi can increase a person's feeling of self-worth. And the reason behind the phenomenon of self-esteem, why it boosts self-esteem, those are still being investigated. We've heard a lot about endorphins and how we can have a rush of endorphins when we are doing certain activities, and exercise is one of them. But I thought it was really interesting how these specific exercises can, lead to these different types of benefits. Any thoughts about that with regards to self-esteem and exercise?
Well, I think it's funny, Dr. Pamela, that there was an article that was posted, this was a few months ago, and I don't know if it was facetious or actually empirical data that they were working with, but they were talking about the narcissistic level of self-esteem that active people have. And I thought it was so fascinating because I think we do have a good, healthy amount of self-esteem, but what exactly makes it narcissistic, I'm not quite sure. Maybe it's the assumption that people will actually be interested in, we lifted 15 pounds today. I don't know, but I just think it's interesting that, for some of us, it took confidence just to get up and get out of bed this morning, much less take a selfie and look cute, okay?
Right.
So, how much, to what level of self-esteem do you have, and where does it come from would be my next question.
But it's interesting you say that, because it was actually one of the questions I was going to ask initially. We had another guest that was going to be on the show, and he couldn't make it. And I was actually going to ask him, because he does bodybuilding, and he often takes pictures of his body as he's progressing and posts them, so he'll post a, look what he didn't, actually there's no caption. It's just,
just show
the progress. and I was going to ask that question, actually. What is the line between narcissism? I had that exact word in my wording. What is the line between narcissism and just really being proud of what you've been accomplishing in as you're progressing and you're transforming? We are in a social media world now, so everything we do is documented. So what is that line?
Well, I think some of it is, and I can't wait to hear from our other co-hosts over there too, but what I'm thinking about is, when you're starting this process, I think, you have a particular view of yourself. So, for example, everyone is biased in their own way concerning their own bodies. So, for me, even to this moment, after losing that amount of weight, I still see myself quite differently. When I go into a store, I immediately go to the extra large end because I forget that, I'm probably actually a medium in that, for example. And so you see yourself in a particular way. And I think it's helpful, number one, to keep track of your progress, of course, because that keeps you motivated. Absolutely. But then, two, what's the intention of all these posts? I say it all the time. When I look at the captions of folks' pictures, I want to know that they're posting it because they want to be an encouragement to someone else versus, here I am at the gym once again, look at me.
I'm better than
That's
you.
quite different. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
From what other people may choose to say. I hope it's an encouragement to others, but it may not be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like yesterday, I posted some pointless posts because I thought my face was cute. I was like, ooh, my makeup was
But
cute.
you know what? I saw it. It was cute. It really was. It was beautiful.
Thank you. Exactly. It was.
But there's a level of guilt, like, God, you know, I know somebody's looking at this like, what, who cares, you know? And yeah.
I think, you know, for me, it's like, don't live your life. If your life is social media, that's one thing.
Right.
But if I can get a sneak preview to what it is that you do in your daily affairs, then I'm just like, okay. I think that's the fine line between feeding that ego, that narcissism. But it's just like, you know, because for me, I look at social media as a snippet of my life.
Right.
I don't want to be all of my life, because I hear about the catfish and stuff like that. It was one post I said, what you see right here is me. Like, I want the whole essence of me. So I feel like it's a fine line, but it really gets down to intention.
Yes.
And is there a purpose? Because I know on some retrospect or insight, I don't think everything should be posted. I mean, that's another thing too.
Right.
Like, it's like, I know that we have the different social medias, but Twitter, for example, I'm just not going to tweet throughout my day about what I'm doing all the time, because there's a point where you're not living. And I feel like there's a point that you're trying to prove versus actually just living your life.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's where that balance is, where you're feeding into ego and then you're feeling, you know, feeding into your spirit and just enjoying yourself, or narcissism.
Or you need validation. You're hungry for that validation from the
you
audience.
have to be really mindful of that, because again, the only thing who's validating you is you. And I mean, you can finally like just plop right on down into that external validation. I can see that happen.
Yeah.
You know?
And in all fairness, validation from your loved ones, your immediate circle, cool. You know, that's great. But when it's a hunger for, you know.
And you have a lot of people that are doing that.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have a fulfilling life, whatever that looks like. And if you're okay with your life, that's fine. But again, there has been a disconnect to where, no, this is my life. Right. And it can be a complete portrayal or difference than what it is that you're actually living.
Yes.
So you have people doing that.
Oh,
and I'm just like,
absolutely.
yo.
I see it. I'm like, wait a minute now. That's not who I know.
Exactly. I don't remember that. I don't recall that.
Dr. Shaunna really didn't do an Iron Man. She didn't do that. It was fake. She just put some fake posts.
I staged that whole thing, girl. All of it.
Exactly.
All of it.
You know, I think it should be
But
a
people
highlight.
do that, and that is kind of problematic. So one of the things that I wanted to jump into, though, you had mentioned the difference between motivation and discipline. And I would love to hear your thoughts, Dr. Shaunna, on the difference between motivation and discipline.
Yeah, I think, you know, for me, just, you know, to give you all a little more of my journey for those that don't follow me on social media, for me, yeah, it took a lot of discipline. You know, it takes for us, it took about 6 days out of the week of training. Many of those days were double workouts, so you weren't just running today, you were lifting weights and running, you were swimming and cycling, you were, you know, doing a couple of things each day. And the reason why I wanted to make my story so public on social media was simply because there are a lot of people who choose not to do that, and that's fine, that's their preference, but it seems like, once again, people wake up in the morning and decide, oh, I'm just going to run out and do an Ironman, I'm going to do a half Ironman, a 70.3. That is not at all how it works.
Yeah.
And for me, I wanted to show the entire process you know, I just came from running a 5K to getting to that point. And so the discipline piece of it is extremely important. Waking up every morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, 6 days a week for 7 months, no, that's not pleasant. Let me just be clear. It's not pleasant. So, you know, when you get to that point where, no, there's nobody waking you up, my trainer was not there shaking me out of my bed at 4 o'clock in the morning to get up. You have to find that intrinsic motivation to get yourself up when no one else is going to get you up, and possibly no one else will be there but you.
Yeah.
And being very okay with that. And so I think a lot of us get really pumped up by, you know, our speeches and YouTube and everything else. But the reality is the magic happens when the discipline comes.
That's
when, no, I don't feel like getting up. Like, people always say, oh, I commend you for getting up so early. You know, I just can't do it. I hate getting up that early. And I'm thinking to myself, do you think I love getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning? But, you know, the discipline piece, when people start working out, and I don't mean to be shady by any stretch of the imagination, but you know how committed people are when they get past that first couple of weeks, that first couple of months, and you can tell what their commitment excitement level is, because it's cute in the beginning, but how do you respond when it's not cute anymore and you don't have another new outfit to wear to get you motivated to go to the gym, and nobody's going to meet you there at that time because you got to work out at a different time because you got to pick up the kids after school.
Right.
What happens when it's not pretty and not pleasant anymore? Are you still showing up?
That is good. So good.
Yes.
Oh,
that is really good.
so good. Oh.
Well, I hate to come off of that because that was some good stuff, but we have got to talk about some research.
Very nice.
Science.
Okay, so for the second hour, our research is looking at why fit women have much better sex. So,
back to that sex thing.
Yes, gotta talk about sex. Brought to you by Red Door Consulting. As I mentioned before, Red Door Consulting is a boutique management consulting firm, and they have a lot of different services that they offer to help build your business, and if your business is already built, to take you to the next level. So contact Red Door Consulting. It's at www.reddoorconsulting8.com. Okay, so this study comes out of Women's Health and written by Cindy Kuzma. And basically, she's talking about the different ways in which exercise can boost your sex life. Now, we've heard about this before, but I wanted to get some actual factual information about what that looks like. Sex and exercise run along parallel with cardiovascular, muscular, and neurological pathways, which is why they set off similar chain reactions. Until recently, however, experts were less clear on how much those paths crossed. So over the past few years, researchers have made some important discoveries about the body and brain connections of sex and exercise. So according to Dr. Tina Penhallow, being physically active seems to be a potent aphrodisiac for women. And in fact, regular exercise may play a more important role in sexual satisfaction than many other factors, including stress, weight, or your current relationship status or lack thereof. So exercise is pretty major. So here are some ways in which exercise enhance our sexual lifestyles. Number one, it boosts focus. So, all too common, he's kissing on your neck, she's kissing on your neck, but you're thinking about that major work deadline. You're not focused. So, exercise can help sync your mind and your body as well as quiet your racing brain so that you can focus on the task at hand. So, focus. All right, number two, accelerates arousal. So studies have shown that women who frequently exercise become aroused more quickly and are able to orgasm faster and more intensely. So,
I wonder if because you're more focused.
Well, it's possibly because you're more focused. Right. So there's some, yes, I think there's a relationship there. And they're saying because cardiovascular exercise can help pump blood faster to the right parts of your body, and it can also reduce chronic inflammation, which can damage blood vessels, decrease circulation, and putting a damper on sexual bliss. So yes. So number three, it builds stronger pipes. So a healthy pair of lungs helps express your elation with more gusto. And you'll have a lot more to scream about if you learn to control your breath. How many of you would have thought of that? Wow. So partners who breathe in tandem may create a bigger buildup, which can intensify pleasure. So, and women who take short, quick breaths as they reach climax, rather than holding their breath, may reduce carbon monoxide in the blood, possibly intensifying vaginal contractions. So, those short, quick breaths.
I'm like, note to self.
Yes. Now, this is great information for all the swimmers that I know, that I'm always telling them not to hold their breath and to take shorter breaths. That's right up that alley.
This is good. So there's an added benefit then if they, take it from the pool. Yoga can reduce carbon dioxide in the blood and intensify. I said yoga can help women focus on their breathing. So yoga is a really good exercise for this. Are we close to break? Is that why I'm hearing music?
Yeah.
If we are. Okay. So I'll give the other ones like really quick. Revs up your libido. It enhances the in the sack endurance. So now you can last longer. it gets you feeling sexier. I know that for sure. I don't care what I look like, but after I leave the gym, I feel sexy. Lightens your mood, helps shed inhibitions, so you're not as, you're
just free.
guarded.
Just
you're
like,
free. And then it makes you more sensitive. And we don't mean crying during the sex. The tissue that forms, can we say this on the radio? The clitoris? Okay. I just said it. The tissue that forms it contains 8,000 nerve fibers that extend to the entire pelvic region, including the vaginal walls. They found that physical activity was able to prime a woman's body for sexual activity by making her more sensitive to touch and increasing the efficacy of stimuli in that area.
Y'all better get to work.
How many of y'all knew this?
Get to work.
Wow.
Find your training.
Yes. Get it together.
Right, exactly.
Get it together. All right. And I won't ask you, Shaunna, about your sex life. Don't worry. I'm not going to ask you.
Well, hey, I have 2 small children, so that
there's
changes
some
all of
evidence.
what you just said.
Something
right
has happened. All right. We'll be right back.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Our freedom and security are made possible through the service and sacrifice of our military and first responders. The Gary Sinise Foundation provides many outreach programs supporting these brave men and women. Join us. Donate at GarySiniseFoundation.org.
Uncle Dan? Mom? Dad? If you store your guns properly, so not just anyone can get to them,
I'll feel safer when I'm playing outside. Safer when walking home.
Safer when my friends come over. As your neighbor, I'll feel safer.
As a school teacher, I'll feel safer.
we'll all feel safer.
Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. If you own a gun, you have a full-time responsibility. When you aren't using it, be sure it can't get into the hands of curious children, troubled teenagers, a thief, or anyone else who might misuse it. Remember, always, lock it up. For more information on firearm storage safety, visit ncpc.org. This message brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and the Ad Council.
This is big business. This is the American way. See ya.
Okay, so we're getting close to the end, and I know, I mean, this has been such a great show, and I love having Dr. Shaunna on the show. I would love for you to come to Atlanta at some point and be in the studio with us. Hopefully, we can make that happen.
We have got to work that out.
Yes, we have to. So I do want, I feel like we cannot leave the show without you talking a little bit about your, the swimming and getting black people to swim, and I really wanted to spend more time on that, but can you speak to that?
Absolutely. You know, I think the big challenge, and I'll give you an example of this, the big challenge has been, of course, the elephant in the room, hair. Hair. Nobody wants to deal with the hair. And even when it comes down to little girls taking swim lessons, I always notice that there are more little boys, even African-American little boys, taking swim lessons than girls. And so I think that's one of our biggest challenges in that area. Also, too, the data also tells us that, you know, the more parents that we have who are non-swimmers means that we have more children who are non-swimmers because we perpetuate this idea of fear around water. And I cannot say that I'm exempt from that. That was me just a few years ago. And so I think between hair and fear, those are our two biggest issues around swimming.
Oh, my gosh. I love that. I mean, I don't love that, but I mean, the way you articulated it, hair and fear, you know, it's just, it sounds like a book title. I'm sorry. Hair and fear.
That is.
Write it down.
Write that down.
Write
that down.
Somebody write it down.
That's good.
Right.
Yeah, so you've been doing a lot of work to try to remedy that in among black women and men. I heard you say that you were speaking to a group of young black men in college, and you asked how many of them can swim, and there were maybe 2 of them who raised their hands?
Yeah, right. So the office where I work actually has a program called the College Success Scholars, which lends itself to getting undergraduate students, male students of color, getting them acclimated to campus. And I went down, like I do every year, to greet them and meet them. And, of course, introducing a female into a male space, you have to be quick, go ahead and say what you're going to say and leave, because, it is sacred space for them.
Yes.
And so, when I brought it up, they raised hands, and only 2 of them out of almost 50, only 2 knew how to swim.
Oh, that's so...
That is, for me personally, that's foreign, because I took to, fish to water?
Fish to the water?
Yeah. I loved water. And so my mother got me involved, and my brother, in swim lessons. Now, my dad didn't know how to swim, but, I just, it's so much fun in the water.
It's a life skill, like she said, like Dr. Shaunna said. It's a life skill, and it's really sad that we've got to fix this. And I'm so glad that you're speaking out on that. Before we go, I want to find out how we reach you. I know on Instagram it's Shiro Athletics. Is that correct? Or
yes. Okay. Shiro Athletics on Instagram. If you all want to email me directly, it's Shaunna, SHAUNNA, @ShiroAthletics.com.
All right. Well, final thoughts. I just wanted to close out with a quote from Napoleon Hill. What a different story people would have to tell if they only would adopt a definite purpose and stand by that purpose until it had time to become an all-consuming obsession. Now, this type of obsession is so deeply rooted in purpose that there's no peace until that purpose is actualized. The thoughts, images, and feelings surrounding our purpose consume us. It's about giving our all, not merely because we're inspired, but because the work has to be done. Inspiration may be the trigger that gets us started, but obsession, our fitness, our careers, and even a new exciting idea. We don't just do it because it feels good, because often it does not. We do it because we can't not do it, even when the task at hand seems to be the impossible. That from my upcoming book. So thank you so much for tuning into the live exchange. Thanks for joining us, Shaunna. Thanks for being here, Danelle. We exchange compelling dialogue around love, politics, and intellect. Join us next Thursday from 11 to 1 right here on the Sensation Station, where I'll be joined by 2 scholar psychologists who will tackle racial and gender bias, Dr. Bentley Gibson and Dr. Jillian Watley. I'm Dr. Pamela, and here's Dr. Danelle. Hey, she's doctor for today.
She's talking that into this.
And remember, love yourself to life, dance confidently in the dark, and dream wildly unrealistic dreams. Have a wonderful week.
Big business. This is the American way.
Station Network.
See ya.
I just need a little of your attention. Yeah. What you be doing, it be having me going in the head. But baby, tonight I'ma switch it up, so listen. Yeah. Let me show you just how bad I want it. Let me talk. Laying on the bed. And hold me tight while I adjust my legs. And I won't stop. I know how you like it. I've been waiting for you, baby. You're gonna have fun with this. My dad is home. He's home for me. And I've been waiting for his loving all day. My dad is home. You know I won't play. I ain't worried about him giving my life in no way. He let it hear me say, hey, 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 daddy, hey, hey, I know it, hey, daddy, hey, 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 daddy, hey, 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 daddy.
I ain't gotta do a lot of flexing. Shawty, you already know what it is. And girl, tonight we're gonna do a lot of sexing. Yeah, can't nobody do your body like this. Oh, I wanna
let it hear you say, hey, 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 daddy, hey, hey, and I know it, hey, daddy, hey, 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 daddy, hey, 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 daddy.
Poke it on out, poke it out right there. I'ma fall back while you work that chair. You damn thing, let the neighbors hear. Poke it on out, poke it out right there. I'ma fall back, let you work that chair. Do the damn thing, all I wanna hear is you say, Daddy's home. Oh, home for me. And I know you've been waiting for this loving all day. Your daddy's home. It's time to play. Yeah. Now, baby, you ain't gotta give my loving away. Daddy's home. Home for me. And I know you've been waiting for this loving all day. You know your daddy's home. And it's time to play. Said you ain't got to give my love away.
Can't let it hear you say, hey, 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 daddy, hey, hey, and I know it, hey, daddy, hey, 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 daddy, hey, 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 daddy,
Hey, daddy. So what say, hey, daddy. Hey, daddy, know what you like. It's a blessing to see people with their heads up to the sky still. 'Cause honestly, for the same people, life can be so real. I'm amazed by all your strength, I am. And I'm grateful you come through. Yeah. So I take this time to stop a moment and show my gratitude. For you, I'm a lighter in the air for you. I see what you're doing, yeah, I see what you go through. I'm a lighter in the air, the truth is you're beautiful, 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 beautiful. Now put your lighter in the air for us. Everybody singing together, sing a new song. Put your lighter in the air for love. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Many mighty ships are sinking. Many stars are falling down. And I count it as a blessing that you hold me up now. Oh, I can tell that you've been praying. My whole life has turned out. Saying that I thank God for you all now. Yeah, for you, I'm a lighter in the air for you. I see what you're doing, yeah, I see what you go through. I'm a lighter in the air, the truth is you're beautiful, beautiful. Now put your lighter in the air for us. Everybody singing together, sing a new song. Put your lighter in the air for love. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Let me say yeah, 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 yeah. all the time. If you ain't here to party, take your ass back home. If you getting naughty, baby, here's my phone. Slide with your boy to the bar. Slide with your boy to the car. I've been searching everywhere and now here you are. Ooh, junkie. Looking for them girls with the big old hoops that drop it down in crazy dukes. I wanna get down. Yeah, them the ones I'm trying to recruit. I'm looking at you. Yeah, you, baby. Now let me hear you say you're ready. I'm ready. Oh, yeah. Girl, you better have your hair weave strapped on tight. Cause once we get going, we rollin', we'll cha-cha till the morning. So just say alright, alright. If you ain't here to party, take your ass back home. If you getting naughty, baby, here's my phone. Slide with your boy to the bar. Slide with your boy to the car. I've been searching everywhere and now here you are. Ooh, junkie. Looking for them girls with the big old hoops that drop it down in crazy dukes. I wanna get down. Yeah, them the ones I'm trying to recruit. I'm looking at you. Yeah, you, baby. You got what I want. I got what you want. Girl, you got what I need. I got what you need. 37, 27, 42. Ooh, squeeze all of that in my coupe. Girl, I choose you. Junkie. Looking for them girls with the big old hoops that drop it down in crazy dukes. I wanna get down. Yeah, them the ones I'm trying to recruit. I'm looking at you. Yeah, you, baby, junkie. Looking for them girls with the big old hoops that drop it down in crazy dukes. I wanna get down. Yeah, them the ones I'm trying to recruit. I'm looking at you. Yeah, you, baby, baby.
Now, well, you'll see what happens. Sensation Station Network.
You cannot let a fear of failure, or a fear of comparison, or a fear of judgment stop you from doing what is right.
Let's talk about destiny. Destiny Talk.
Welcome, everybody. You're listening to Destiny Talk Live. I'm your host, Cherry G, coming to you every Thursday at 1 p.m.